All right, you're live.
Hey everybody, happy almost Halloween. Today we are going to be talking about some creepy and cool animal adaptations. We're going to get started in just a minute. Until then, I want you guys to watch this gif of a spider catching her prey. How is this spider adapted to catch her prey on the ground? Feel free to write your answer in the comments. I'll be back in just a minute to get started. Again, we're watching this GIF because today's video or live is all about cool animal adaptations that might seem kind of creepy. Because of course tomorrow's Halloween, and of course we should talk about creepy, cool things animals do. So take a look at the GIF. If you are hopping on here, please put a comment in the comment section. If you're watching this on a replay on our YouTube channel or even on our Facebook, make sure you say hi and where you're from. And then I'm wondering what adaptation you guys see this spider doing so that she can catch her prey. We're going to get started in about 10 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Remember, if you guys see this GIF behind me of the spider catching her prey, please make a comment on how she is able to catch her prey. What do you watch her doing? And then also just say hi and where you're from. I'd love to see who's on with us. But we're going to talk all about animal adaptations. In honor of Halloween, we're focusing on some of the stranger adaptations animals have done. Adaptation is something you guys might remember when we've talked about other lives that an animal does to get used to its habitat. So sometimes in the wintertime, like you and I, we'll go put more coats on. Maybe we'll start have fire in our house. Maybe we'll turn the heat up a little bit. But animals have adaptations that allow them to live better in their ecosystems. I love this GIF that we had just watched about spiders because spiders have really cool adaptations that allow them to catch their food. The spider that used her web was not like a normal web that you guys might see. She actually made a net out of her web, and then she uses it kind of to push the prey onto the ground. I love watching spiders. I have a certain agreement at my house with spiders. As long as they stay outside, they can stay alive. This summer, I had a black widow that was living above my door at my house, my front door. And she was kind of creepy. I always thought she was going to jump on me every time I went under her, but I allowed her to live. And she caught a lot of other spiders. So those spiders were not coming into my house because they were being caught in her web. And it was really fun to watch her catch those prey and then stop them coming in my house. She eventually had a sack of eggs that my crazy husband actually caught on the web with a stick and took it out in the woods after she left the eggs. And then a cat spider came and joined where she was living before. And I know in the forest behind my house, we actually have a lot of funnel spiders that build a funnel on the ground to catch their prey. So spiders are really cool critters to look at adaptations when you're talking about creepy, cool adaptations. So tortoises are one of the coolest things that we have found that have really special adaptations. We talked about reptiles a couple weeks ago, if you remember that. And reptiles actually have the ability to control their temperature based on the temperature outside. And that's why they're called cold-blooded, so snakes and tortoises and things like that. If it gets cold like this, and tortoises don't normally live in Spokane, but they do live places where it potentially could get kind of cold. There's also some frogs, like wood frogs, and they actually adapt to live in colder winter months. And we're also going to be talking about loggerhead shrikes, who are also known as the butcher bird. So we mentioned before that an adaptation is anything that allows animals to survive. I think we have a tortoise here if you guys want to see Dorothy. And Dorothy is the tortoise we have here. I'm going to see how well she shows up. So she wouldn't normally live here in Spokane. She's a Russian tortoise. This is about as big as she'll ever get. And if she lived in Spokane and winter hit, she'd have a really hard time adapting. You'll notice she doesn't have fur, and fur helps animals stay warm. And she is cold-blooded, so that when she gets cold, she really does get cold. And we're going to talk more about Dorothy's adaptations in a second. Let me give her back to you. Thanks. So other physical things that animals might have that help them survive would be fur, like I mentioned before. I actually have some polar bear fur if you guys want to see it. It's huge, so I'm going to try to reach here. So this is polar bear fur. It was actually a taxidermied fur somebody donated to us. But I know that you guys can't feel it, but it is very, very thick. And maybe if you have a dog or cat at home, you might notice that sometimes during different seasons, they get thicker fur. And sometimes, like I have a German Shepherd, and there's a couple times a year where she is losing all of her fur. That's because she's getting ready for the seasons to change. So polar bears have this really, really thick fur. They have black skin that allows sun to actually warm their bodies, which helps them in the winter. They have thick fur, and then their fur is white. So they can be really good at hunting in the winter. You can imagine if you were a black bear on a field of snow and you were going to hunt a prey, you probably wouldn't show up very well. So polar bears have the adaptation of having white fur to help them blend in so things can't see them, and thick, thick fur. Another adaptation I want to talk about are quills. I didn't think about this. I'm going to pull the camera off, guys. So I have a porcupine here, and luckily he's not alive. And this porcupine is a juvenile porcupine, meaning young. And normally when you see a porcupine, they will have quills kind of sticking out everywhere. But because he's a juvenile, his quills don't stick out quite as much, but they're underneath his fur right here. And hopefully you guys can see that. So this adaptation allows them to be able to defend themselves against predators. I'm going to turn him around. Hope you guys aren't getting seasick. Here's the quill right here. Can you guys see those? So if he is being chased by a predator, all he has to do is curl up, and these quills right here will protect him. And then he has these really unique barbs on the end of them. If you've ever gone fishing before, and instead of them shooting quills out, like everyone's like, oh, porcupines shoot quills. They don't shoot quills. These adaptations, the barbs actually stick in whatever goes ouch and pulls away. So if I slam my finger in there, I'm going to go ouch, and the quill's going to pull out. So they have the adaptation of these really sharp quills to help them be safe from predators. Sorry if I'm making you guys sick with the camera here. Stella might tweak it for me. I have my assistant Stella here today. Some animals, like the snowshoe hare, actually will also change their fur color in the winter to adapt to colder weather. So, am I on the tortoise slide? I think I went one too soon. So, I went one too soon, guys. Sorry. Tortoises do not have to hibernate. The two bigger ones that we have here typically wouldn't hibernate, but when temperatures start dropping, they will bury themselves. And if you ever see Dorothy here at the Outdoor Learning Center, she is constantly trying to dig herself in the winter. She likes to bury herself down into a deeper kind of, not a cave, but kind of an underground house for her. They can actually slow their heartbeat. So if you guys know that we have, when you go to the doctor, they count how many heartbeats you have. She actually can slow her heartbeat, and then they can even barely digest anything. So if they stop eating and stop moving, they can actually slow their bodies down. And they can actually do this for about 6 months or more. That's over half of a year. So if you can imagine not eating, not moving, and your heartbeat really slows down for 6 months, that's pretty impressive. And they will do that until the weather starts to warm up, and they'll come out of the dirt, and they'll go searching for food. We here at the Outdoor Learning Center have lots of lights and different ways to keep our animals warm, so they're constantly still eating and things like that. But I don't know if that sounds like you guys, but it kind of sounds like what a zombie might do. So speaking of zombies, a couple weeks ago, I told you guys about the wood frog. That's sometimes called the zombie wood frog. These wood frogs live farther north than any other species of frogs. So if you think like Minnesota, up towards Canada, hi Gavin, hi Hannah, hi Lincoln, hi Rhett. Anyway, so far up north in the United States, and it snows in the wintertime. When the temperature gets cold, the frog should get cold in the wintertime. But they will burrow and bury themselves down into leaves and dirt and shut down all of their organs. So your heart and your liver and your lungs and your stomach and those types of things, those are your organs. The frog can actually shut those down. And as it freezes, the frog will freeze too. And on this picture up here, if you guys can see it, that's actually showing you in slow-mo, the frog's outer is being covered by a layer of ice. And their whole body will freeze. Eventually, with the modern equipment, you can't hear the frog's heartbeat breathing or see the brain activity. So they actually look like they're a dead frog. It lasts through all the winter months, and even its eyes freeze over and become ice. You guys can see it there, kind of gets gray looking. And then when it starts to become spring, it warms up the ground, the frog melts and springs back to life, which is completely crazy. And that's why we love science so much. No other animal in the world can entirely freeze itself and be okay once it thaws out, which is why it's called the zombie frog. I know that scientists study these guys because they actually do something where they can change their blood with cold. It's some sort of like crazy temperature thing to do with their blood. There's nothing like it in the world, so it's super awesome. I do have a video to show you guys about the zombie frog.
While the rivers and ponds are melting, the ground remains frozen. And under the leaf litter, someone is pulling off a miracle. This wood frog is frozen solid. Even his eyes are iced over. There's no pulse, no breath. Slowly, the warmth of spring begins to thaw from the inside out. His heart starts beating. His brain lights up. And he begins to move. It turns out that the frog's liver pumped the syrupy natural antifreeze into his cells in the fall. It kept his organs from freezing. Only the water between cells froze. After 8 months frozen, he's completely undamaged and leaping straight for the nearest pond.
So I thought that was a really cool video. Ask somebody in your house what antifreeze is, because if we in Spokane don't have antifreeze in our car, actually when we go out to start in the morning on cold days, it probably won't start. So it's pretty important for your vehicle, and it's crazy that the animal that's in the wild actually has a substance like antifreeze in its body at all to make things happen. Jack and Lily, hello. Oh, hi, Mrs. Shireman. I love you. Thank you for logging on. I hope your kindergartners are having a great year. So this one's called the butcher bird, and we don't have any sound to this one. Well, we do, but it kind of is hard to understand. Let's go with that. But it's super interesting. This little bird is called the butcher bird. It's a loggerhead shrike, and it's found in most of the United States. It's actually the size of a sparrow, so little brown jobs that you guys see flying around your house. They hunt anything from insects to small birds. They love grasshoppers and things. They even eat poisonous monarch butterflies and some poisonous toads. So think about being able to eat poison. We humans can't do that. But this guy has adapted to be able to eat those kinds of things. And the way they can do it is they stick it on something sharp. So if you have ever been out in the country and you've heard of a fence called barbed wire, or a thorn of a tree, or a bush, maybe you've been out playing in the bushes and got cut by a thorn, they will stick them on that, or even cactuses. So anything pokey, and they take that insect or that small animal, and they stick it to the barbed wire, let's just say, and then they leave it there, and eventually it will start to, the poison will start to go away or dissipate, and then it becomes less toxic, and the bird can then eat it. They also, this is really gross, I hope you guys can handle it, they use the barbed wire to rip and tear their prey open. They're not a very big bird. I wonder, can I play it again? Let me go back. We're going to play it one more time. So not a very big bird. We've talked a lot about owls and hawks. They have big sharp talons and beaks and things. These guys aren't very big, so they have to use the barbed wire to help them rip and tear the things they're going to eat. Kind of like you and I use a fork and knife. But there's an example of them sticking a little sweet little grasshopper onto a barb, coming back later after that poisonous grasshopper has kind of died and the toxins have gone. So they're kind of a creepy bird. So just know that if you're out walking around and you see an insect or a small bird stuck to a piece of barbed wire or a thorn, you could potentially have one of those little loggerheads, what am I saying? A shrike living in your neighborhood, or you can call it the butcher bird. And then you'll have to take a picture of the dead thing hanging on a thorn or a piece of barbed wire for us. I wanted to show you guys a great horned owl's talons. I didn't bring in a live one today because it's very windy here and our birds do not like to come out in the wind. But I do have a great horned owl. And we talked about how the butcher bird has little talons. But you can imagine this guy doesn't need to stick it on a fence to use it because he can rip and tear it with that really sharp beak. And owls they're adapted to eat their food whole sometimes. There's his sharp talons. So just like the butcher bird uses the barbed wire, this guy will use its feet, kind of like the barbed wire, to hold it still. And then he'll use his beak to rip and tear it, just like the butcher bird does when his insect is laying there. Do we have any questions coming in? Anybody wondering anything? Just hellos? I love hellos. That's all that we have for you guys today. I hope that you learned something new and that you have a wonderful Halloween and stay safe. We love any pictures that you guys want to share with us or any future questions you have. So if you're out hiking along and you see an insect stuck to a barbed wire and you take a picture of it, we would love to see that. Or if you have questions about things you're hearing or seeing, especially now the seasons are changing, if you guys want to do, send us either a Facebook message or you can reach out to us on our website or even on Instagram. Make sure you guys are checking out social media. We would love to hear from you guys. We miss you. If you're watching this in the replay, remember we can still answer any questions you might have. Or if you are on YouTube watching this, remember to share and subscribe and share with your friends. But have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you guys really soon. Bye.